Hi guys, Fu here, and it's time for one of my favorite times of the year, haunted house season. Now, Majanoni and I have sort of been on this journey to find what we think is the best haunted house in Arizona, and one of our stops was AZ Scream Park. It's supposedly the oldest haunted attraction in Arizona, and I'd been there previously, so I was really excited to go. And they had some new stuff this year. It is a little bit more on the expensive side. I think it's $27 to get into this one, but Circle K has a $3 off coupon, so that brings it in line with like the 13th floor and everything as far as price. It has several attractions. It has a medieval castle, a miner's revenge, a high school one, and then a 3D maze. So you get 4 attractions. It also has like some little games and a fortune teller and some stuff going on, and lots of rock and roll music. So we started off with the medieval castle. Overall, I liked this. There were some really great rooms and some really great sets and some great scares, but there was a lot of maze and not a lot going on. And I mean a lot of maze. I think AZ Scream Park overall has some of the biggest mazes, but that's not necessarily an advantage all the time, because there were lots of parts where I'm just weaving in and out. The good things they did in here were there were options on which way to go. A lot of mazes you go one way. This had some stuff where you double back on yourself, or you could go the wrong way, or you had a choice whether to go left or right and things like that. Those were really great. The sets were quality. They're not the best in Arizona as far as sets, but they, I don't always need absolute amazing quality stuff. This worked well. The actors were good, but I didn't really get a storyline or an overall feeling here, aside from it's a medieval castle. Now, AZ Scream Park has the best animatronics, I think, of any of the mazes in Arizona, and it utilizes them really well. So there's some great scares with those. And there's an animatronic at the end of this maze that is really great. Really excellent. But I don't think it's their strongest maze overall. I want to see a bit more action, a bit more plot line maybe. There's a dungeon section that's really great, so maybe some more of that. And I think this has potential, but it hasn't gotten there yet. There's a lot of maze, and there's good sections, but they're too spread out over too much maze. Next up, we went to Miner's Revenge, which is supposed to be the scariest one in the park. And I really do like this one. It utilizes the area they have really well. This is an outdoor venue, and it really uses all of that to create a really great mind setting. You go underground in parts. There's a swamp with some alligators, and this does a really good combination of sort of hillbilly and western and mine, and it sort of hits all those themes in one and does it all really well. Again, it's a very long maze. This one I didn't feel the length as much as far as like Dead Space, and it had some really great stuff. They really utilized the dark and light contrast and the open spaces and the closed spaces to sort of get you scared of everything. I wish there were a few more actors, but all the actors they did have were really solid and the scares were good. Again, amazing animatronics. There were a couple of things that really got me good. And normally animatronics aren't that scary. All the sets were really beautiful in this. Really, really amazing and scary. There's a trailer you go through at one point that was super creepy. There were underground sections that were just spooky as heck. And the whole thing's a really great maze. I think this is probably my second favorite of the AZ Scream Park, and I think it's a great maze, and they should continue doing it that way every year because it's great. The third maze we hit was the new one for them, and it's a monster high school type thing. And this one, they can touch you and they make you sign a waiver in the beginning. This suffered from a similar problem to the medieval maze. There's a lot of space and not always a lot going on, but the stuff that does go on is really great. So there's blank spot, and then a really amazing room, and then some blank maze, and then a really amazing room. I'd like to see more of that filled in. And I'd like to use the ability to have the actors touch you, because I had one guy like brush me on the shoulder and that was it. You can really scare people with that, and I think that should be used to its full ability if you're going to make me sign a waiver. The Monster High School theme, I think, could be a bit stronger as well. There was like a jock and a library nerd and some stuff like that, and like a prom. But I want to see some really freaky teachers or something, because they were scary. And I think they could be really scary. So I think it's a solid start for this maze, but it could use some improvement. But for a first year, I think it was really well done. And the actors were really great with interacting with everybody. Now, the final maze was a 3D maze. Again, I'm normally concerned when we come to 3D mazes because they're either really good or super boring and just using 3D to distract you from the fact that the maze is boring. This maze doesn't even need the 3D. It could be without the... They have their own, Screen Park glasses. It doesn't need this. This maze was great without this. This did help sometimes to sort of disorient you, but it doesn't need this. This maze starts out funneling you into this elevator that you have to go in, and it had a great, perfect, amazing actor. Guy in the elevator at AZ Scream Park, I like you a lot. You did a great job. Thank you. So you get onto this great elevator, it moves you around, it shakes you, the lights go off, the actor does some amazing things to scare you. He also did some good things where he listened to what we were saying to each other as the group. We ended up, Maginoni and I ended up with another group, and he heard them saying, Kayla, Kayla, and he heard me talking to Maginoni, so he made sure as we exited the elevator to shout those names, and I don't think the group we were with realized it, but all the other actors in the maze heard, and every time that Kayla girl walked by an actor, they got her good, and she was completely scared by the end. Kayla, Kayla, and she didn't know how they knew her name. So that was really great. My issues with this maze were, there were a couple of spots where I accidentally doubled back onto a dead end, which I don't know if that was supposed to be there to confuse me, or if I accidentally got into a spot where an actor was meant to be. So there's a couple of spots like that. And then they have the inflatable lady parts that I've never been a fan of, because whenever I'm in a group with other people, they never seem to be able to figure out how to go through it, so it holds everything up. That's the only detracting factor from this. There's great painting that utilizes the 3D glasses effect. They play with your depth perception by putting stuff on the walls and then putting the actors in that stuff, so with the glasses you can't tell what's paint and what's actor. That was really great. There was some just great use of the sets overall. And normally I'm not a fan of the 3D, but I thought this was done really well. They didn't rely on the painting or the 3D to get me into this whole thing. They still relied on really solid acting and really solid scares. And there was a chainsaw at the end, of course, but it worked for the group with us because they bolted out of the end of that maze. Maginoni and I sort of backed up against a wall and let them go because they just weren't to be stopped at all. So AZ Scream Park, it's one of the more expensive ones, but I think it's a good solid attraction, and with 4 mazes, it's well worth your money. I'm not sure if this is going to be my absolute favorite, but I think I'm going to hit this one every year because it's really good. So I want to see your thoughts on it. Rate the video up or down and get some comments going, and happy Halloween, everybody!